This is Culture Uncut. This is Culture Uncut. This is Culture Uncut. I am your host, Jason Spears, and Colt fans, we've got a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do have a lot to talk about. This is Culture Uncut. I'm your host, Jason Spears, and another debacle in Jacksonville. It is now 10 straight years the Colts have failed to win in Jacksonville. Actually, 9 of those were in Jacksonville. 1 was in, I think, London. So that's 10 straight. Very disappointing loss. The Colts actually came out fast in this game and got a lead early, which I thought was good, and they finished strong. You know, if you look at the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes, they outscored them 21-3. The problem was, between those 5 minutes, it was 31-13 Jags. So the Colts can't play a complete game. The defense was atrocious. The offense was pretty mid into the fourth quarter, and we realized that we have a elite field stretcher and Alec Pierce on our team, and we just started heaving it down the field. I'll get to all this. There's so much to talk about. I know a lot of fans are mad. I'm one of them. I'm very, very upset with our defensive scheme, our defensive players. It's just unacceptable, and I'm tired of saying that. It's just, at what point is enough? Now, the thing with Gus Bradley, and I'll get into him more, I've got a whole laundry list of things to talk about. The thing with Gus Bradley is when he brought in his staff, Ballard allowed him to bring in all his buddies. So firing him essentially does nothing. The only guy that he didn't bring in, I think, is Partridge from Pittsburgh, who's the D-line coach. So he's not going to be fired until the end of the year. So we're going to have to sit through, 12 more games of this? And with the attrition that's building up on the defense with the injuries, it's just going to get worse, because don't get it twisted. I've seen a lot of people saying, well, the injuries, they were bad before this. And do you need proof? Okay, I'll give you proof. Shout out to Talking Colts on Twitter. I am citing him because this was his tweet. Let's just take a look at the first 5 weeks of the Indianapolis Colts season on defense. Week 1, Joe Mixon, 159 yards rushing, most since 2021. Week 2, Josh Jacobs, 151 yards rushing, most since 2022. Week 3, Caleb Williams, 363 yards passing, career high. Now you're going to sense a theme here. Week 4, Justin Fields, 367 yards, career high. Week 5, Trevor Lawrence, 371 yards passing, career high. You see what's going, you see the pattern here? It's just unacceptable. And listen, I like Shane Steichen, and I'm starting to, I really hope it's not one of those situations where he's being brainwashed into Chris Ballard talk now by telling us I believe in the guys. I mean, I know he can't say anything else, but behind the scenes, man, I just don't know how you don't make some adjustments, because none are made in the game. We clearly saw that. Before I get into the game, though, and get too far along, I do want to say this. There's a really scary moment in this game. Will Fries suffered a significant knee injury. I think it's a broken tibia or fibia. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm saying the bones right, but it's a significant injury, significant enough that he had to have the surgery tonight in Jacksonville before he could fly home. So that is a very significant injury to a very good football player and a very good guy. I love this kid coming out of Penn State. It's just such a devastating loss for the O-line, the team, and he's in a contract year, man. And he was playing at a Pro Bowl level. I'm probably more gutted for him than I am about the loss, if I'm going to be honest, because I expected to lose. I did not expect to lose one of our linemen to a catastrophic injury that is probably going to keep him out at least a year. I don't know that for sure. We'll see. But when they don't show the replay, you know it's bad. Because they generally will give you one look at it. They didn't give us any looks at it. That's all I needed to know. And listening to Quentin Nelson talk after the game, yeah, you could tell those guys are devastated. And I feel for those guys. That's a brotherhood. The line had been playing really well. Those guys care about each other. And I know Will Fries will be back. And hopefully he's back in a Colts uniform because he was balling. And I really love him. Loved him out of Penn State, like I said. And I was a late round pick, but you could just see it in him. He was a dog. And he is a dog. And he'll come back and he'll rehabilitate and do all the things he needs to do to get back. But that to me was, that was a gut punch, man. Tough loss. It's just the attrition with these injuries, but some of the significant injuries are just devastating. And I didn't want to lose sight of that, and I kind of want to put it into perspective. Yes, I'm pissed, and I'm probably going to go a little nutty later when I talk about some of this stuff, but you see stuff like that, and it puts the game in perspective. These guys have families, the team's a family. So I just want to say my best wishes, thoughts, prayers, whatever, to Will Fries and his family. I sincerely hope that he can come back. I hope, with the Colts, that would be great. He's the kind of guy that's easy to root for. He didn't get the silver spoon. He wasn't a top pick. He wasn't any of that stuff. He just worked his ass off, grinded, and got to where he got to be by hard work, dedication, and execution. And, I'm gutted for him because he's the type of player you want to build your team around. Those are core guys that have the right DNA that you want on your roster. So that was a tough loss, tough to see, and man, get well soon, Will Fries. So I wanted to mention that before I jump into this train wreck of a game. So let's go ahead and get started with the Jags. Just up front, they were 0-4 coming into this game. We knew that meant nothing. But they averaged 15.5 points per game. They scored 37 in this game. That's, 26.5 more? Or no, not. That's great math, Jason. Really great math there. They scored 37. They averaged about 16, so 21 points more. I think that's a little better. Let's just go down the offensive stats for the Jags here. 497 total yards. Trevor Lawrence, 28 of 34, 371 yards, 2 touchdowns. The run game, 23 carries, 126 yards, 5.5 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. Colts had 0 sacks, 2 pressures. They forced 2 punts the entire game. Tank Bigsby ragdolled our entire defense and made us look like peewee football players. 13 attempts, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7.8 yards per carry. And they did all this with 2 turnovers. So it was bad. The defense they didn't tackle. They didn't do anything. They got no pressure on the quarterback at all. Gus did nothing to adjust. I don't know, man. I was looking before I came on. I was going through looking at who I thought played half decent. EJ was okay. Grover was okay. I thought, Womack was okay, even though he got trucked on a couple runs. Cross made a nice play, but the piss poor tackling and not knowing what you're supposed. Julian Blackmon's back there like an air traffic controller trying to get Dallas Flowers to do the right thing. If he doesn't know what he's doing, Gus, get him the fuck off the field. He doesn't have to play. You can play Jones outside, you can play Womack outside, and play Lamons inside. And if you have to bring another guy in, bring in David Long. Because Dallas Flowers is clearly not ready to play. He got roasted on 2 or 3 long pass plays. One went for a touchdown. And there was another play in the end zone, a key 3rd down, where he had no idea what he was doing. I think there was 2 of those. So you're going to blame the player for that. I blame the coach, because if you're not coaching it, you're allowing it. And that's the tackling, that's the piss poor effort, that's not hustling to the ball, like when Bigsby fumbled the ball and there were no Colts around to recover it because they're just standing around. That's all coaching. All of it. Coaching and effort. And that's unacceptable, because that could have changed the game when he fumbled on the goal line. It was a fumble. Latu knocked the ball out. He hustled. There was no one else down there. So this isn't just about scheme or players. It's about coaching. And I wholeheartedly believe in that statement. If you're not coaching it, you're allowing it. Okay? That comes back to accountability. This team needs to play hard. It doesn't have the talent right now because of the injuries. And even if they did, they have to play hard. They have to hustle to the ball. Everybody. Like they did for 4 years with Flus here. Yes, they weren't the greatest defense in the world, but they played hard. They hustled to the ball. That's why they got so many fumble recoveries, because they were always around the ball. That's what this team needs to do. Fundamentally, and just play harder. They're not playing hard enough. Now, to the execution part of that, they're not tackling well. That's fundamentals. That's coaching. You got to break down and make these guys. You just have to be able to get the guy on the ground. I don't care how you do it, but the amount of times the Colts have been in one-on-one situations with running backs outside, and all they've got to do is make a tackle, and it's a 2-yard gain, and they get shook or run over for a 15-yard gain, is astounding to me. What are you coaching, Gus? Do you coach at all? Do you do tackling drills? Do you even test these players on, do they know the defense? Dallas Flowers clearly doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, but he's on the field. He's splitting reps with Sam Womack. Can you explain that to me? Why is he even on the field? You can let him return punts or whatever, kickoffs, but I don't want him anywhere near our secondary. Our secondary's bad enough. We don't need a guy out there that doesn't know what he's doing. So the Jags just went up and down the field. They had 2 punts the entire game. The Colts did force 2 turnovers, but it doesn't matter. When you get, look at these stats. 500 total yards. Lawrence threw 6 incompletions, threw for 370 yards, 2 touchdowns. Bigsby ran all over the defense. They averaged 5 yards a carry. They could do whatever they wanted. And so, I'm so frustrated. I have no idea why Chris Ballard thought it was a good idea to bring Gus Bradley and this staff back. What did he see? Because I saw shitty defense all last year too, and the year before, and everybody makes excuses for him. It's unbelievable the amount of excuses I've heard made for Gus Bradley. It's enough. Enough is enough. Just like with Chris Ballard. I'm done. I gave him what? I gave him 16 or 17 to 21. I gave him 5 years. Okay? I gave him the extra 22. I gave him the 1 extra year, but he should have been going after that. And it should have been a whole rip down from the top down. New GM, new coach, new quarterback. That's how they should have done it. But nope, they kept the GM, and now he's tied to the quarterback, so he's going to be around, and he keeps Gus Bradley around because Gus Bradley runs, an antiquated zone defense from 2012, and, he loves the concepts and the cover 2. Chris, it's not 2006. Brian Urlacher is not walking through that door. Peanut Tillman is not walking through that door. Julius Peppers is not walking through that door. Okay? These things aren't going to happen. And Richard Sherman, it's not 2012, Gus. There's no Richard Sherman. There's no Brandon Browner. There's no Cam Chancellor. There's no Earl Thomas. Okay? We need to evolve here. There's no evolution of this defense. It's the same shit. It's vanilla static cover 3 for 40% of the time with very little blitzing. We did hardly any blitzing in that game. There were no adjustments. And, I'm so sick of it. I'm sick of watching it. I'm sick of the excuses. I'm sick of losing. I'm tired of mediocrity, man. Or being in purgatory with these 100-year-old quarterbacks that can win us 1 or 2 extra games to get us to 8 or 9 and miss the playoffs by 1 game, and then we're picking, 16th, 17th, or whatever it is, instead of picking in the... If we're going to suck, let's just suck. Let's be top 5 bad. Top 10 bad. We get better players that way. So that was the bad. The good in this game, and people were roasting me because I said this is, when it was 20-10 and Flacco was throwing everything within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, I said this looks like the Gardner Minshew offense. I don't ever want to hear, another person suggest he should start over Richardson, and everybody's roasting me over that or whatever, and that's fine. I'll gladly eat my words. He played great in the fourth quarter. I thought he was kind of mid. He was not mid. He was average, okay for 3 quarters, but he turned it up in the fourth quarter. He's a good player. The situation we're in is not an indictment on Joe Flacco. I want people to understand that. It's where we are as a team. We're not good enough. We need to find out what we have in Richardson. That's why I'm going to start Richardson every game he's healthy. And if he gets hurt, Joe Flacco can play. But let's go through the good in this game. Joe Flacco, 33-44, 359 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interception. Did have that 1 big fumble. He was sacked 4 times. They definitely got pressure on him from the 2 outside guys. I thought Braden Smith was playing injured, and you could tell he was struggling. And then also, Bernie had a rough game too. They're not always going to be perfect. 20 carries for 99 yards. I was actually shocked to see that, just because I saw Trey Sermon run the ball 10 times for 38 yards, and that I don't know how he got the 99, but he did get a touchdown. I did not understand why Goodson wasn't on the field more. He ran it 5 times for 26 yards, 5.2 yards a carry. And caught some balls out of the backfield. Looked like he just ran harder, had a little bit more shake to him. But the rushing star of the game was Joe Flacco. He averaged 7.3 yards per carry, 3 carries, 22 yards. So, running game was really non-existent. We had Sermon in there most of the time. I would have liked to seen Goodson get a little bit more run. He's got a lot more, or not a lot more, but he's a little bit more, creative with the ball in his hands, and he can do more things. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, and Sermon does that too, but he's kind of just a straight north-south guy, and that was not working yesterday. So the star of the game for me, though, is absolutely got to be, outside of Flacco, is Alec Pierce. I mean, listen to these stats, and this is all in the last 7 minutes of the game. He wasn't targeted until the last 7 minutes of the game, which that's a whole nother conversation that we could have, that he should have been. I mean, this guy should be getting targets all game. He's elite. He is an elite field-stretching deep threat. Okay? 3 targets, 3 receptions, 134 yards, 1 touchdown, all in the last 7 minutes. My biggest issue with this offense is they did nothing down the field until the last 7 minutes of the game, and then they magically came back and tied the game. Downs was decent. He had 12 targets, 9 receptions, 69 yards. The pass pro wasn't great at parts of this game, and they have good players. I mean, give them credit. Allen is a good player, and Walker is coming into his own. Really, Walker really did a number on Braden with his power. He was pushing him back into the quarterback, but the secondary for the Jags is not very good. I thought we would attack deep down the field, stretch the field, then try to run. That's when you're playing a team like the Colts and you've got backups everywhere. My game plan personally would have been to stretch the field, pass to run. Pass to run. Sometimes Peyton would do that. Throw to run. I thought that would have been a good plan for this game, but I don't really. They didn't do that early. I mean, they came out and they throw it and they went right down the field. And maybe that was the worst thing that could happen, because then after that, they didn't do much for 2 quarters. So, but I thought they did the offense in the fourth quarter really showed up. Unfortunately, so did the defense, meaning the defense that we've seen all year. You scored 24 points in a quarter. you should probably win, especially when it's a semi-close game. And unfortunately, we gave up 17. So that was very disappointing. And I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. It never ends in Jacksonville. It's just, I was saying, it's literally football hell for Colt fans, and I don't know if we're ever going to win there. Like, I'm not kidding. It reminds me of Pittsburgh. We've won one game, I think, in Pittsburgh since they moved to Indy, and like 3 since 1970. This is what that kind of feels like. It doesn't matter what kind of team they are. They could be 0-5, 1-12, 1-14, or they could be good. It doesn't really matter. We can't win there. And it's not like it's, the crowd or it's a hard place to play. Everybody else goes in there and wins. It's not a hard place to play. It's just something with this team, and it's crazy. 10 years of this. How many, like 9 million quarterbacks? I think 3 or 4 different coaches. It's just the way we always make Trevor Lawrence look like Joe Montana is astounding. But if you don't pressure him, and we didn't, he's gonna, I mean, for the most part, any average to above average quarterback, when not pressured, is going to tear your defense apart. Especially when you run a defense where you don't have to think. You know what defense we're in as soon as you walk to the line of scrimmage. You know where the weak spots are. You know where the ball's got to go. I guess I might as well get into Gus. To me, the game was over. Well, obviously, there's a lot of reasons we lost this game, and I've gone into them. The tackling was piss poor. We don't know what we're doing on defense, which again goes back to coaching. But the 2nd and 24, 64-yard bomb was like, I was ready to chuck my remote through the wall. I don't. How does that happen? I just don't have words. We're playing a defense that's predicated on eliminating explosive plays. I think they had 5 plays over 25 yards. Eliminating explosive plays. We gave up an 85-yard touchdown pass, a 63-yard touchdown, or a 63-yard bomb on 2nd and 24. What are we doing, Gus? What are we doing? Like, we're not taking away big plays, Gus. Like, we're supposed to be playing this zone defense that takes away big plays. They're not taking away the big plays, Gus. So, I'm going to need I wish I could just interview the guy and ask him all these questions. I don't. Where were the adjustments? There were none. I didn't see any extra blitzing. I just saw the same shit on the entire game. He probably blitzed 1 or 2 times. I did see him blitz 1 time on a screen pass where they gashed us for like 15 yards early on in the game. But if your secondary looks like we did today and our D-line looks like what we did today, I'm blitzing damn near every down. I'm bringing guys from all over the place. Because at that point, it doesn't matter. They're going to score anyway. They might as well score fast. So, I'm so tired of watching it. I'm so tired of the defense. I'm so tired of the scheme. I'm so tired of it just being, no disguises, very little disguise, very little movement, very little pre-snap movement, very little pressure, dialed up pressure. It's just such an easy defense to play against. And it was an easy defense to play against when they stunk in 2022. It was an easy defense to play when they stunk in 2023. And it was an easy defense to play against when they stunk in 2024. It is not the players. It is the scheme. The scheme is trash. So that's where I'm at with him. He's not going to change. He has been the same guy, and he's gotten progressively worse as the league has evolved. His last really good defense was in 2018 with at that point, I think, was it San Diego or they've already moved to LA? I don't know, whatever. The Chargers. I think it was 8th or maybe 4th or 8th. And then it was 1 year in the 19, it was the Raiders, or maybe it was the Chargers again, they were 14th. And then it was 21, then it was 23, then it was 28, then it was 28. Now it's dead last. He's getting worse because the league is evolving and he is not. It's an adapt or die league. Things change very quickly. You have to be able to adjust. He is not adjusting at all. There are no adjustments. And he's not putting his best players on the field. Dallas Flowers should be inactive. Or, I mean, if you're going to keep, I guess you'd keep him as a kick returner. But I would rather than play David Long. Bring him up from, whoever's on the practice squad. David Long, I think they brought him up. He didn't even get on the field, as far as I could see. So, to me, it's got to be Womack out there. It's got to be Lamons, and it's got to be Jones. And those guys are your 3 best players. And if you sub somebody in, sub anyone in that knows what they're fucking doing. You cannot have a player out there who, 1, is coming off a major injury, and he's clearly not 100%. 2, has no fucking idea what he's doing. None. There were 2 plays in the end zone where Julian Blackmon was trying to tell him what to do, and he was completely out of place and made the wrong read, and we gave up 2 easy touchdowns around the goal line. He was also roasted for an 85-yard touchdown. He was also roasted for a 63-yard bomb. Why is he on the goddamn field? Explain it to me. Make it make sense. Gus. So, 12 more weeks of Gus. But again, I thought he was fired after last year. I thought it was pretty obvious he sucked. His scheme sucked. It was just bad. And when you played like the most important game of the season and they literally had 1 healthy receiver and you allow that 1 healthy receiver to have like 12 catches for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, that should tell you, maybe this ain't the guy. Because, you know what Bill Belichick does? He takes away your best player, and this is what all good coaches do. They take away what you do best, which in that game was C.J. Stroud to 12. I never can remember his name. It drives me crazy. He went to Michigan. I forget his name. But he kills us every time we play him. I should know his name. And there was, like, good coaches, you beat us doing something else. You're not beating us with him. You have to beat us with John Mechie or whoever. But Gus is like, nah, we got this. We'll let him get his. Meanwhile, he wins the game for him. I don't get that. I'm always a proponent of somebody else needs to beat us other than their best player. That's just logic to me. Gus doesn't seem to buy into that, though, which is very strange. And stupid on many levels. So, okay, so I talked about, and with Chris Ballard, I don't know. I wanted him fired after 2022. Now he's seemingly paired with Richardson. You're not going to fire him and keep Shane. That's a dysfunctional thing. So they're going to keep Ballard, which scares the dog shit out of me because there's no guarantee he fires Gus at the end of the year because at the end, he could just say, what's on me? I didn't get Gus enough players and give Gus enough. If I have to sit through another 4th year of Gus, I might become a full-blown alcoholic. And one other thing I wanted to touch on is I love this kid. I think he's going to be good, but A.D. Mitchell cannot be on the field. And the reason being is he's not giving his all. He's gator arming anything that is leading to him getting hit. He doesn't even try to catch. And you can't have a guy out there like that. It sets a bad precedent for the rest of the players. Guys like Ashton Doolin. Look, Pierce needs to be on the field all the time. Downs needs to be on the field all the time. And Pitt needs to be on the field all the time. And if one of those guys needs a blow, then you bring Doolin in. Because Doolin's a dog. He'll go after anything, whatever. You have to earn it in this league. And Shane's about accountability. Where is it? He's been doing this all year. He's been alligator arming plays and just stopping in the hole and not attacking the ball. Like, he's been doing this all year. He has to get better. You don't just put him in the game because he was a second-round pick. You put him in the game because he's proven that he can go get the ball. He has not proven that. All these other guys, Pitt, Downs, Doolin, and Pierce are all certified dogs. They attack the ball. You see when a ball goes up, Pierce, ain't nobody getting that ball but him. And if it ain't him, no one else is getting it. Pierce needs to be on the field. They need to get him involved ASAP in every game. He is too good. He's a game-breaking player, a difference maker. He is an absolute difference maker. You get the ball to him, he changes games. If we would have done what we did in the fourth quarter earlier in the game, and I know they're in that shell, and I know all that. They were in it in the fourth quarter, too. You got to just rip that shit down the field to him and give him a chance to make a play on the ball. I would much rather see that than them throwing 2-yard passes to A.D. Mitchell, and all this other crap that they were doing early in this game. The offense, I think, is going to be fine. I do think they can win with Flacco, okay? Obviously, they can win some games with him. I'm not going to deny that he did not play a very, very good football game. But here's what this comes down to for me, okay? And I'm going to explain it one last time for the people in the back. When you have a young quarterback, right? And I hear people, why are we playing him? He gets injured all the time. Let him watch Flacco. I hear you. That's the right move in some situations. When you don't have a good offensive line, when you don't have a top 3 running back, when you don't have a top 15 or maybe even better receiving core. But we have all that. Anthony Richardson has everything around him right now to win. He's got an elite running game. He's got an elite offensive line. He's got, every kind of receiver you want. A field stretcher, a guy that can go over the middle and take some shots, and Pittman, and then you've got Downs, who's just shifty and can make all the catches and get you first downs. You've got it all. And so it's a perfect situation for him to play in. This team's not going anywhere. You can't win with this defense. And with Flacco, he's a backup. He's 40 years old. We put him in there and say we win 1 or 2 more games. What is that? That doesn't do anything. Guess who's going to be starting next year? Anthony Richardson again, and you're going to be bitching again. So why not play him now, find out if he can stay healthy, and if he can improve. You don't invest a 4th-round pick in a player that's 21 years old when you draft him, and give him 4 games that he's completed and be like, okay, he's injury prone, he sucks, we're done. That's not how that works or should work. You give him every opportunity to show who he is and be who he can be. And if that takes this year and next year, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with it. Because this team isn't going anywhere. You have to find, and I'm tired of old quarterbacks. Okay? We're going to win 8 or 9 games, pick late in, or, in the mid to late part of the, teens. It's like, that's purgatory. I'm tired of it. Like, I was okay with it with Rivers because, I thought we had a legitimate chance to win. And, you thought maybe Carson Wentz was gonna, I didn't, but, you hope, the hope train. But after that, it was like, okay, we have to get they should have drafted a younger quarterback before all that. Because you knew 40-year-old Rivers wasn't going to play long. So I get to an extent, I get to play Flacco, gives us a better chance to win thing. But he doesn't give us that much better chance to win. The dude threw for what? His career high today? He played as good as he can play, in my opinion, at this age, and still lost. Not because of him, but because of the other side of the ball. Okay, so my point is, if he plays that well and we can't win against an 0-4 team, what's the point? Play the young guy, let him learn, and there's no guarantees here. There's no guarantee he's going to be the guy, and there's no guarantee that he's going to be able to stay healthy, okay? But my belief is you give him every opportunity to be the guy before you pull the plug. You don't pull the plug this early. He's not playing bad football. He was playing good to start that game against a really good Steelers defense. And he got hurt. Just like the Titans game a year ago. It's very frustrating as fans, and I get that. And I understand patience is wearing thin where this organization is. Not having won a playoff game since 2018, not having been to the playoffs since 2020. I get it. But when we drafted him, we were essentially starting over. We were not, he was raw. He's got a lot to learn. And this is a big picture situation. And you've got to play him. And if he sucks, he sucks. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Not everything's going to hit. But if he sucks, then we're picking in the top 5 or the top 10 or whatever. That's the way it goes. And I would rather have a top 10 pick and a top 5 pick than a pick that's, 17 or 16 and we miss the playoffs by one game, which has happened twice in the last 3 years. I'm done with that. I don't want that anymore. I want to find a long-term solution. 40-year-old Joe Flacco, as well as he played today, is not the answer. I don't know why people don't understand this. Is it just you want to give up on Richardson? Is that the issue here? Because he's gotten injured a couple times? There's been plenty of guys that have gotten injured early in their career, Joe Burrow, and they've come back just off the top of my head and been fine. Maybe missed a game or two the next year, and then they've been fine. I don't get it. We're just going to go in circles here, with this shit. It's just going in circles with the quarterback. And none of it matters anyway because the defense is trash. We have no difference makers on our defense. We just don't. EJ is a good tackler, and Zaire is a good tackler, but they don't make a lot of splash plays. They're not game-changing players. And to be fair to them, I don't think this is a game-changing style defense either. The scheme and the way it's played, it puts veterans in a bad situation because you're stuck there. With guys like Dallas Flowers who don't even know what they're doing. And that's inexcusable. And again, people are going to blame Flowers. I blame the coach. And the coach in this situation is Gus Bradley. He controls the defense. He shouldn't be out there if he doesn't know what he's doing. It's that simple. You called up a guy from the practice squad, put him out there. Physical mistakes I can deal with. Not knowing what in the hell you're doing on 2 touchdown plays, I cannot deal with. And this is the common theme with the Colts. Last year it was Rodney Thomas, never knowing what the hell he was supposed to be doing. Who does that link to? What does that tell you? Either the player doesn't listen or he's not being coached hard enough. If you're not coaching it, you're allowing it. That's what this comes down to. It's not a one-time thing. It's been happening. Mental mistakes over and over and over and over cannot happen. Physical mistakes happen. That's football. They got good players too. Okay? We're going to get beat once in a while. They're going to make plays once in a while. But mental mistakes absolutely kill you. And they lost us, in my opinion, those mental mistakes, some coverage bust and two plays where he didn't know what he's doing. That's 21 points. That's 21 points. So, it's just, we got Tennessee next week. I fully expect Will Levis to go ham, probably throw for 380 yards and 5 touchdowns. And I'm not even kidding. I saw absolutely nothing from the defensive line today outside of Grover Stewart. Like, there was no pressure. None. And there was no simulated pressures. There was no moving around. There was no, bringing an extra guy, bringing blitzes from different areas. There was no, when you play quarterback against the Colts, you don't have to think. You don't. They very rarely blitz. And when they do, you can read it. It's obvious. I'm just fed up, man. And before the year started, I said, if Gus can just give us a 15th ranked defense or 16th, like middle of the pack defense, I would have been ecstatic. Nope. It's going to be the same old with Gus. It's going to be the same old with Gus. And I know the injuries are going to be the thing that everybody talks about, but I will remind you that they sucked last year and they sucked the year before. It's not the injuries, it's the coaching and the scheme. Again, poor tackling, mental mistakes, getting beat over the top when you're playing a shell defense that's supposed to keep everything in front of you and not allow explosive plays. Poor tackling technique. What else do I need to say? What else needs to be said? I mean, the offense can score 37 points and lose to an 0-4, or 34. I keep saying 37. It's 34 points and still lose to an 0-4 team that hadn't done jack shit against anybody. I think they averaged 15 points a game. They scored 37 points against our defense. 37 points. If you're playing a shell cover 3, cover 2, cover 4, whatever you're doing, there's no way you should give up that many points, because the theory of the defense is you make them go the long way. And the Colts just didn't do that. They didn't do it at all. I mean, an 85-yard touchdown, 63-yard bomb on 2nd and 24. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know how I'm going to watch this defense for 12 more games. I'm excited to watch the offense. I think they're going to continue to grow and get better. I think you're going to see, I'm excited to see what Pierce has in store when AR gets back. And remember, AR didn't have Downs. Downs is clearly his security blanket. You get Downs and AR playing together with 28 back, whenever that is going to be. God, and that's another thing. Chris Ballard, what a great job you did to pick up a viable number 2 running back. Listen, I like Trey Sermon. He runs hard. He plays hard. I have nothing against the kid. Okay, but he's not a number 2 back. That is clear to anyone that watches him play. Goodson looked miles better than him. You did not do enough to find a valid number 2 running back. And that, just like the lack of vets in our secondary, is on you, sir. So at the end of the year, we can listen to your little, presser bullshit, and you can say, well, that was on me. I didn't do enough to get the depth in the running back room, and I didn't do enough I thought the young guys were ready, and they needed a veteran back there, and I don't want to hear that bullshit anymore. It's every year now. Every year. All it is excuses. And you know what excuses are for? They're for losers. I'm not a loser. I'm about finding ways to try to fix this shit. Not just continuing to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over. I mean, think about it. He went the route of the 100-year-old quarterback 4 times. He now has a young quarterback, but he is completely neglecting the secondary. We have no depth at running back. We have no tight ends outside of, I like Ogletree. Mo's okay. Woods he's never healthy. There's just so many things he neglects. And then at the end of the year says, oh, I should have done this and I should have done that. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. You're not proactive enough. And honestly, he just seems like he doesn't care. It's like he wants to prove everybody wrong. Like, I like our guys. Everybody else sees the big problem, but not Chris. Chris knows everything. Chris is the smartest guy in the room. One of those guys. Well, hey, Chris, you've been here since 2017. You're way under 500. You've gone to the playoffs 0 times since 2020. You've won 0 playoff games since 2018. You haven't won a division title since you've been here, when every other team has won the division at least once, I think maybe twice. That is on you. And that in itself is on Irsay, because he should have fired him after 2022. And he didn't. And now I don't know what kind of health Irsay's in. It isn't good. But at some point, and I hope it's soon, he's got to give this over to the daughters. He's got to let the daughters run the team, and he needs to just ride off into the sunset, because this is just insanity watching the same, like, defensively it's insane. It's just watching the same shit over and over and over and over and over and doing nothing about it, making no adjustments, not doing anything to try to change the outcome of these games, just sitting back, playing static defense. You know, it is insanity. That is the definition of insanity. There's so many things wrong with our defense. And I tweeted this out. It all rolls downhill. Starts with Irsay, who I don't know if he's in ill health, so I don't know what's going on with the top of our organization. Ballard seems like he's out to lunch, when it comes to being proactive and attacking needs on this team for the past few years. Okay, then you get down to, Gus Bradley, who has been atrocious, and this is his 3rd year, and you're just watching it get worse. I mean, again, mental mistakes have been made throughout his entire tenure. Things that should not happen are happening constantly. Rodney Thomas last year, Dallas Flowers this year. Again, I'm not even going to blame the player. I'm blaming the coach. Because that is on coaching. Again, I've said it 50 times in this. But if you're not coaching it, you're allowing it. And they're allowing all these guys to just stand out there and make mental mistakes over and over and losing football games. No excuse for it. None. Dallas Flowers, at most, should be on the special teams. He is not a starting caliber cornerback at this point. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I feel bad because I'm sure Julian Blackmon and a lot of those other guys are frustrated. Because imagine busting your ass playing hard for 60 minutes and you've got a teammate who's either not studying or shouldn't even be out on the field, but your defensive coordinator keeps throwing him out there and he keeps giving up touchdowns. It's not, and it looks like it's Blackman's job because he's the closest guy to the play, but it's not. It's Flowers' job. I mean, I can beat on this drum all day, and it's clear I'm upset. I'm just tired, guys. I'm tired of not winning divisions. I'm tired of not making the playoffs. I'm tired of not being able to win in Jacksonville against bad Jacksonville teams. I'm tired of giving up 500 yards to teams that have shitty offenses. I'm tired of, the excuses from everyone in this organization. I'm tired of not holding anybody accountable. I'm tired of it all. I'm just tired. I want to win before I'm dead. At this rate, we're going backwards at this point. We just need to get Richardson on the field and keep him upright. Because guess what? Everybody's like, we need to get a new quarterback. Okay, so what? Who's guaranteeing that next quarterback's the right guy? I mean, you gave up on this guy after 4 full games, and what about the next guy? What if he comes in and he's just awful? Are you going to cut him too? Oh, well, we'll just keep drafting quarterbacks every year till we get it right? Is that your plan? That's dumb as shit. That's not how you develop players. You got to let this guy develop. You've got to let him learn. You've got to let him try to fight through adversity and get out there and start making plays. He has the talent. He's so friggin' young, man. And people just want to toss him to the curb. He's a good kid. He's a hard worker. He plays his ass off. What else do you want from him? Like, yeah, he's gotten hurt. He had a bad injury last year. And yes, he got hurt again. So you just want to just toss him in the trash? Really? Because there's plenty of other guys on this team that have gotten hurt every year. Ryan Kelly gets hurt. You want to throw him in the trash? Braden Smith gets hurt. You want to throw him in the trash? I mean, Blackman gets hurt every year, it seems like. You want to throw him in the trash? I mean, it's bullshit. It pisses me off because this kid's getting so much undue hate. And it's bullshit. And he's 22 years old. And he's trying like hell to live his dream. You think he wants to get injured? He's prepared every game. He plays hard. He's in his book. He watches film. He and Flacco have a great relationship. I root so hard for this kid. He's such a great kid. I remember Jeff George. Jeff George had all the talent that Anthony Richardson had. But his teammates hated him because he was an asshole. He thought he knew everything. He didn't study. He bitched and moaned. It was always everyone else's fault but his. That's a bad young quarterback. That's a guy, okay, we need to move on from this guy quickly. And the Colts did. They gave him 3 years. That's not Anthony Richardson. He's a great teammate. If you watched him after the Bears game, he knew he played bad. He felt terrible. He felt like he let his teammates down in a win. In a win. He's 22 years old. He's more mature than Jeff George ever was. And he's just as talented. So I'm not bailing on this kid. Does that mean he's going to work out? No. Does that mean he's not going to have injury problems? No. But I'm not giving up on him after 4 friggin' games. It's not going to happen. I don't give up on players that easy. Especially when they have shown some of the things that he has shown. And again, this is no indictment on Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco came in and played one of the best games of his career. He was outstanding. The fourth quarter, he was as good as it gets. Okay? So it's not an indictment on him at all. He's a fine backup quarterback. But for where we are as an organization, we have the worst ranked defense in the NFL. Our elite running back is out right now. Hopefully he comes back next week. But you need to be real with yourselves, okay, as fans. And most people listen to this probably like me and agree with what I'm saying, so I'm probably preaching to the choir here, because the morons that don't and try to argue with me about, Richardson and all that, they're not going to listen to this. They're not going to hear it. But we're not going anywhere this year. Nowhere. Okay? This is the perfect time. Because we have the offense set up. Forget the defense. It's bad. We're not going to win it a lot of games. It's a terrible defense with a terrible coach and a terrible scheme. Accept it. It's going to be bad all year. Okay? But we have an offense that's perfectly set up for this kid. He's got a great running back when healthy. He's got a top 5 offensive line. Hopefully that doesn't change too much now that we've lost Fries. And Kelly's out. Hopefully we'll get Kelly back and they can move Bordellini to guard or whatever they're going to do there. I think Bordellini's been okay. Hopefully Braden gets healthier. But it's even with all that, it's a top 10 offensive line. Okay, so it's not like he's coming in, they have the worst offensive line in football, no running game, and no weapons. He's not walking into that. He's not walking into Carolina. He's walking into a situation where this can be a top 10 offense. Okay? He's got 3 really reliable receivers. When Pittman got his head in the game and playing hard, they've got 3 reliable receivers. 4 if you count Doolin. He knows where to be. He knows where to go. He's always going to be in the right spot. Okay, and then you've got a young guy in AD that they got to bring along slowly. But they've got weapons. This is the perfect situation to play a 22-year-old quarterback when he doesn't have to do everything. He's got a line, he's got receivers, he's got a running back that can to take all the pressure off him. The worst situations for young quarterbacks are when they're drafted to bad teams that have bad offensive lines and no skill players. That is a recipe for disaster. That's Carolina. They've got Hubbard at running back and little else. Their offensive line is beat up. They're injured. And Bryce was he's a deer in headlights, man. And I'm not saying Bryce is any good. I'm just saying he's not gonna. You throw him in that train wreck of a situation, he's gonna play like he played. He has no help there. That's not the case here. That is absolutely not the case here. I would argue we have more weapons than Tennessee does. Certainly not as many as Houston, but more than Jacksonville and more than Tennessee. And I guess Trevor's not young, but Levis is young. We've got more weapons than them. We're younger. We have a better running game, a better O-line. I would take our skill players over theirs. So this is a perfect situation, man. I'm not 100% a Peyton Manning believer when it comes to you just throw him out there and play him. It has to be the right circumstances. Like if your offensive line is dog shit, you just can't do it. He will get killed, and it'll ruin his confidence, as you've seen with Bryce Young, and he will never be the same. Hopefully, Bryce Young can recover and have like a similar bounce back somewhere else, like one Sam Darnold, who is doing his damn thing. I'm really happy for Sam Darnold. I was rooting for him out of USC. I always thought he was going to be really good, but he went to a train wreck organization. As a quarterback, young quarterback, one place you don't want to be is the New York Jets, because they've always got a bad offensive line and very little skill players. And Carolina now is the same way. And the Colts are not that. And that's the only point I want to make. Again, Joe Flacco is a very good backup quarterback. Might be the best in the league. He's very, very good. But this team is not winning shit with him, so we might as well find out what we have with AR. As long as he's healthy. If he's not, then you put Flacco in and you roll with him. But with this defense, it is what it is. It's bad. And so I expect to lose a lot of games. You know, you can't win giving every single team you play some level of career high with all the mistakes that are made. And they're just so annoying too. Not knowing your responsibilities, not knowing where to line up, not changing anything, not trying to mix it up, not trying to disguise, not trying to maybe play different coverages, not trying to blitz, not try to simulate a blitz and drop. He just does the same thing all the time, and it's 12 more games of it. And I just pray to God that Ballard at the end of the year will pull the Band-Aid off and say enough is enough with this dog shit defense and this scheme. Throw it out, bring somebody in, and let him install his own shit. Because I'm tired of this. Whatever it is, it's not good. So, up next, we have the Tennessee Titans. I'll probably get into that a little later in the week. I had to get all this off my chest. Gus Bradley is the worst defensive coordinator in the NFL. Period. You can't convince me otherwise. You can't. Too many mistakes. They're coached poorly. They don't know what they're doing. That's on the coach. He's terrible. 12 more games. So my focus for the rest of this season is going to be on the offense. And I want to see, steady improvement. I just want to enjoy. I just want to see AR out there playing, man. That's all. That's all I want to see. Good or bad, indifferent. I just want to see the young man get a chance to play and stay out there and stay healthy. It sucks when good players that have good character, can't stay on the field because they want it so bad. You can tell he wants it so bad. So, shout out to Flacco. He played his ass off. Shout out to Alec Pierce, man. You're a monster. We got to re-sign him. He's a special, special player. You got to get the ball in his hands. He stretches defenses like he is just so good at it. He gets behind he attacks the ball. So fun to watch when we start throwing to him. But yeah, shout out to the offense for coming back. We all knew the defense, there was too much time and the defense was going to give up a field goal. Field goal kickers don't ever miss against us. That's just the rules. But I was happy that it was a competitive game. That's where, how pathetic this series has been. The last 3 years we got boat raced. So I was happy it was competitive. It almost got away from us, but Flacco brought us back. Pierce brought us back. Unfortunately, our defense is our defense, and, they did what they do. They fuck up. So, I'm going to try to get over this one, let it go. I mean, we all knew they weren't going to win, but the way they do it is just astounding. The fumble before the half to give them the field goal with like no time left. I mean, it's unbelievable. But yeah, it's a disappointing all around game. I really wish, and just the Will Fries thing bothers me more than anything because he's such a good kid and he's a hell of a player, and I just don't want this to affect his career going forward. But you just never know with these type of injuries. It was a serious injury. When they don't fly back and they have to have the surgery that night, it's pretty serious. So I'm thinking about Will Fries. I really, hope he heals well and is able to come back. I hope the Colts will sign him to an extension and give him a chance, to get back to where he was. I think he's earned that. So hopefully that's, obviously with his health, if he's healthy, obviously they'll offer him a contract. He deserves it, and those guys love him. You could tell the way they talked about him. So, disappointing loss, frustrating loss, angry, very, very angry after that loss at the defense. Just disgusting, absolutely gross defense. I just, how you only get 2 pressures the entire game against a guy that's just been terrible all year, and he lights you up for 370 or whatever it was. I mean, it's just. Guys, I don't have any words for Gus Bradley's defense other than it's trash. And I can't wait until the Gus Bradley era is over. So my roast of Gus Bradley has ended. I am going to try to now move on to the Tennessee Titans, which is going to be a tough game. Their front is tough. The 2 big guys, Simmons and the kid from Texas, are absolute monsters. So that is going to have to be a very big part of our game plan, taking care of those enormous, they wreck games. Those 2, Simmons and I think it's Tavondre, they wreck games, man. So, and when you can push the pocket from the middle, that's a problem. So they've got a stout defense. It is not going to be an easy game. They've got players all over the field defensively. They've got some okay guys. Hopefully Levis will be back. I don't know what I should wish for, honestly. I think Rudolph carves us up. I think there's and then Will give us memes. Now, he'll give us memes, but he also might throw for 280 and 4 touchdowns. He'll play his best game of his career. So I don't really know what to ask for. Just give us Levis. Fuck it. Hopefully AR will be back. Hopefully this isn't a long-term, I don't think it is. I think it's just a bruise. And they were just being precautionary. Hopefully he heals up. But if not, we'll roll with Flacco and see what happens. He took care of the ball for the most part outside the fumble. No interceptions, no really dumb passes. So I can say that for Flacco. Really took care of the ball outside the fumble. We won the turnover thing, which really doesn't matter when your defense is Swiss cheese, but we did win that. So, Tennessee's not going to be an easy game, and especially if we don't have Jonathan Taylor and we insist on running Trey Sermon out there, because that makes us one-dimensional, and it makes it a lot harder to win games, simply put. So hopefully we get Taylor back. Hopefully we get Kelly back. Maybe we get Pay back. It would be nice to get some of these guys back, you know? So we shall see. You know, they're always pretty interesting games up there, or actually, I guess, down there. With Tennessee, they're always pretty close. So I expect another close. We played nothing but close games. I think we've played nothing but one-score games. So I expect the same next week. Whether it's Flacco or AR, I think it's going to be a one-score game. I don't know who's going to win because, you know, you just never know. But especially with his defense. But yeah, that's all I got, guys. I hope that you feel a little bit better after hearing me vent. It was therapeutic for you. That's why I didn't really want to do it, but I did for you guys because I know how frustrating this shit is, and I sit and watch it with you, and I'm just as frustrated and just as angry. Just unspeakably bad defense, and, you know, I've gone over it enough. You've heard enough. So I'll be back probably later in the week when I'm a little less pissed off and to talk about the Titans game, you know, just kind of get into their personnel and just what to expect in that game, and also just a better idea of who we're going to have available, because I have a bad feeling the injury list this week is going to be a CVS receipt, but we'll see. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up. I hope everybody has a much better week than the Sunday we just had. And I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you for listening. This has been the Culture Uncut podcast. I'm your host, Jason Spears. Till next time, guys, take care.